5 game-winning field goals all in one, afternoon. We haven't had a lot of parity. Next week we go back to a good game on Thursday, a lot of terrible matchups on Sunday, and then a good matchup, probably the best matchup of the year on Monday night. So get you set for all that. And this is Pass the Rock.
Could one of y'all pass the gosh darn rock? Hey, yo, I'm trying, I ain't lying, and hosting this will be Brian. Yeah. Posting like Kobe Bryant, yeah. Flying to see the pilot. Yeah. Hit the hezzy, we got Jesse, opinions get kinda messy. A fan of out of lefties, from football to racing jet skis. He go silly when he go deep, sheesh, is Zach Zeman. Teaming up with Jack, we stack the whole team, man. Pass the rock, don't stop the shot clock. Ooh. Smack the slap shot, come on, now let's talk. Pass the, yo, partner, pass the rock, for real.
All right. Great day yesterday. NBA's getting exciting. The Pelicans have a purple and green court tomorrow. I can't wait to talk about all of that. Jesse, when the Giants play the Patriots in a couple weeks, they're both 2-8. Are you rooting for the Patriots to lose?
Hell yeah. Patriots at this point, look, we're not doing anything with the current roster at this point. We got to move on and get a top 3 draft pick next year. It would be the most Patriots thing to go down swinging, win 5 games, and end up with the 11th pick somehow.
Exactly. Zach, the Cowboys' schedule easing up a bit. Giants, Panthers, Commanders. Are you getting a little worried that they might get a little momentum?
I mean, definitely beating up on not great teams will give you some kind of momentum, but I'm not too worried because the Cowboys have yet to beat a team with a winning record this season. They've lost to only teams with winning records. They've yet to beat one. And they also lost to the Cardinals, which was always nice. Yeah. I do think they have a really good shot to beat us when we travel to Dallas. And yes, they might, it might be a bit of a closer division race then. But at the end of the day, they're the Dallas Cowboys. They can't win when it truly matters. I'm not too worried.
All right, Jack, I'm going college football for you. I watch Jaden Daniels, quarterback for LSU, every week. Tell me, can he win the Heisman with that team having 3 losses?
I love when you get me talking about college football, by the way. But no, I think Jaden Daniels is awesome. Statistically, he's probably been the best quarterback in the country this year, which generally would win you the award. But the 3 losses are pretty brutal. They always seem to take the caliber of the team into account, at least somewhat. So I think it's probably more likely that Michael Penix or Bo Nix wins it. But I mean, my personal pick would be Marvin Harrison. I don't think any of the quarterbacks have been that impressive, and he's been outstanding. So I would give it to him.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm looking right at you, Saints management. You're going to pick around 15 or 20 Jaden Daniels. Don't overthink it. Get rid of this guy, Derek Carr. It's the one thing Jack was right about. And hitch the wagons to Jaden Daniels. Let's go. All right. Zach, over to you. Give me a little NBA action.
Yes, 10 games into the season for all of you guys. Who is one player that has impressed you so far this season?
I can start. I'll take Cam Thomas. He has been pretty unbelievable to start this season, and he had that stretch last year where he had a couple 40-point games in a row, and you always knew that the guy was a bucket getter, but just to see him do this on a consistent basis to start this season through the first 10 games, this guy's legit. This guy's a legit scorer. He's going to be a key piece for the Nets this season and moving forward in the future. And I've been super impressed. I think he's going to end up being a borderline all-star type guy this year.
I got one. I got a good one, and it's the Turkish beast Alperen Şengün of the Houston Rockets. He's been unbelievable. Beat Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets, defending champs, last night. The Rockets are on a 5 or 6 game winning streak at this point, and he's averaging a cool 19, 8, and 6 assists right now. He's the leading assister on the Rockets, and he's just so good. If you watch him play, he's dunking on dudes. He's throwing these insane behind the back passes, something that a guard would do, or Nikola Jokic. And he's so young. He's still just budding with excitement. So Alperen Şengün, most impressed through 10 games.
I'm gonna go up north to Minnesota and say Anthony Edwards. Not that far north.
I thought you were going, a little more north.
Not the north. No, I'm going Anthony Edwards. That team is very impressive. I've had questions about them trying to win with the Twin Towers for, the past year and a half, but that dude may just do it by himself. I mean, obviously their defense is huge, and you try to get down there, but they beat the what out of the Pelicans the other day, which is not a hard thing to do at this point over the last week, but he makes contested shot after contested shot. The dude's awesome.
I'm going to be a bit of a homer. I'm going with Tyrese Maxey.
Shock.
I know, shocker. But the biggest thing to me is that prior to the season, I was like, all right, he's going to be our franchise point guard, but I never expect him to be in that upper echelon of like top guards in the league. And so far through 9 games played, he has arguably had the best season from any guard so far. He's been absolutely impressive. He looks to be on an all-star pace. People are even saying all NBA pace so far. I know it's super early, but if there's one guy who has blown my expectations out of the water, it's Tyrese Maxey. Now moving on, who is one player who has disappointed you so far this season? Jack, we'll start with you.
I'll go to Brian's very own New Orleans Pelicans and take Zion Williamson. I was a huge Zion guy coming into the season. I was so hyped to see him back on the floor. And it's only 10 games into the year. I'm not like trashing my opinion of Zion based on 10 games, but through those first 10, which I believe he's played in 8 of them, it has not been the guy that he was pre-injury, but in the couple seasons where he's played 30 games, looked like an all-NBA caliber player. He hasn't been quite that so far this season. Now, I'm not changing my opinion on him through 10 games. I'm sure he'll be able to turn around, but I would be lying if I said I wasn't disappointed so far.
I got an interesting one, and this is a guy who has impressed, but also has really not in some games, and I'm going to say Cade Cunningham. I think that we really expected a huge leap this year. He's played very well in some games, but he's shooting 40% from the field as a whole, just not very efficiently, and Detroit is still 2-9. They're still, with all the young talent they have, honestly, Asar Thompson should be in the Rookie of the Year conversation over pretty much everybody except for Wemby and maybe Chet. They've been playing not great winning basketball. Cade has looked good in some games, and then in other games he's had 10 points or just 3 of 20 from the field, and just not looking good there. And one other player also not looked good so far. Bonus one for you, Julius Randle. He's turned it around a little bit in the last week, but prior to that, he had the worst field goal percentage, I believe, ever, with at least 100 field goals attempted. It was like 26% to start a season. The Knicks, it was not looking good. They're turning a little bit of a corner, but man, Julius Randle. Ugh.
Can I just go ahead and, I know you asked player, can I just say the Memphis Grizzlies as a whole? Like, that team is not one player. Like, that one player missing doesn't make them 2-8. They have it doesn't seem, this is a team that forever has had a lot of heart. They're always going to fight. I feel like, I don't know, did losing Dylan Brooks really change this team?
And here the Rockets are winning and winning and winning.
Yeah. So I'm, look, I'm always glad to see the Grizzlies lose, but I'm really shocked that they are 2-8. That was just they've all been disappointing to me. They just don't have it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to go with, while this player is currently injured, even the little sample size that we've seen from him so far has been disappointing. I'm going with Scoot Henderson here. I thought he was going to be, pretty much like lightning out of the gate. He was going to, make an immediate impact. And so far, he hasn't done that. I know he is injured right now. We won't be seeing him for a couple more weeks, but through 5 games, averaging 29 minutes and only having 8 points with averaging around like 4 shots made a game. It's nothing crazy. These are role player type of stats being put up in starter number of minutes. I know it's very much an overreaction to be reacting like this to a player who's played 5 games this year, but yeah, he's my disappointment.
Well, especially because Anthony Simons has been out too. It's like the door is even more wide open for him to take over. But it's
to be fair, I mean, it's only 5 games that he's played. Yeah, I mean, it's only been 5 games played, but still. All right, and last but not least, give me your way too early NBA MVP pick.
All right. Well, my guy, Brian's favorite player of all time, Luka Doncic. He has been outstanding to start this season. There's no way around it. He's had multiple games where your jaw is literally on the floor. He's wowing the crowd. His defense has been somewhat improved this year, I believe, for the past couple years. So that's something, and that's not saying much because it's Luka, but it's always the offense that you have your eyes on with him. The Mavericks look great right now, which is not something I was expecting coming into the year. And it's got to be Luka for me. I think if he keeps this up, he's going to win it.
Brian stole my thunder a little bit before. My way too early MVP pick is Anthony Edwards. I think that he has been playing phenomenally, averaging around 30 points a game, putting up great defensive stats as well, and just his attitude. I don't know. He kind of reminds me of like being the Jalen Hurts of the NBA almost. He's just got this winning attitude. He's going to go right at your neck, and he's going to compete every single week. And he wants the competition. He wants to guard Jason Tatum one-on-one. He said this year he wants to go up and beat the Warriors in the playoffs because they talk way too much smack, specifically Draymond. And so he went right at them last night, and the Timberwolves won, and they're currently 7-1 or 7-2 to start the season. So if they can keep it up, if Minnesota can end up top 3 in the West, Anthony Edwards for MVP all day long.
Well, I stole your thunder. Jack actually stole my thunder. I was going to say Luka Doncic because I'm willing to admit when I see him playing at an MVP level, which that team is right now, and he is. I don't think it means that he's going to the NBA Finals, but I do think that he's done everything his team needs him to do. I'm going to see him in person tomorrow night, and it'll probably be another destruction of the New Orleans Pelicans. Right in my home city. So,
Brian, would you mind reminding me who one of the only teams in the league to beat the Mavericks this year in the last 2 weeks?
Was it the Toronto Raptors?
It was the Toronto Raptors. Yeah, it was.
Wow,
good deal.
Nice.
I'm hoping that we can join that list tomorrow, but without CJ McCollum, I don't think it's going to happen.
All right, you guys already know my answer, so I'm going to provide the reason why I'm going to say that Joel Embiid's winning back-to-back MVPs. I think the biggest thing is to control that narrative of Jokic and Embiid. There's going to be another massive year-long Twitter war about who deserves the MVP, Jokic or Embiid, giving them both 2, and then they're never voting for either of them again, and that'll be it.
But how can Embiid win it if Maxi's already going to win it?
Yeah.
And I don't see – Maxey is playing phenomenally.
Wait.
There's no way he's getting through.
There's a fella in Denver that's going to have a little bit to say, and I don't think it's going to even be close. I really don't.
Embiid's going to win it again.
No way.
Yes, he is.
You're delusional, but if it makes you feel better, it's okay.
I just don't think Jokic cares enough to win another MVP. I think he
doesn't.
To go race
No
horses.
No heart. He doesn't care. Now,
he cares.
Now, to be fair, like you said, he loves his horses. If they turn the MVP trophy into a horse-like shaped trophy, I think he'd win every MVP.
They did an in-season horse racing tournament. He'd win MVP.
He'd win that.
Be all for it.
Win that.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Zach. Let's move on to the Monday Night Football preview. We got Broncos at Bills. I don't know how the Broncos got a night game after last year, but they have another one. So here we are. Is this game going to be close enough that Josh Allen can actually have a chance at going above 270 yards passing? Zach?
I think it will be closer than people are anticipating. While the Broncos have not looked great this year, the Bills have been fantastic at playing down to their competition. So I think Josh Allen will have ample time to throw for over 270 yards. I think he'll definitely clear that.
Okay. Over to you, Jack. Do they let Russell Wilson cook a little bit to where he gets 25 yards rushing or more?
That's really interesting. I'm going to say yes, because Russ is, I feel like, pretty consistently hit that mark this year. Say what you want about his decision-making lately or his arm or whatever. He's always going to be a mobile quarterback. He's always going to be a threat to use his legs. And I think it's pretty doable for him.
Okay. Jesse, do the Bills use this as a get-right game and get back into the AFC East race, the AFC playoff race? Is this something they're focused on, or are they going to struggle tonight?
So he has 15 or more fantasy points. And
hey, Zach, would you zip it there?
Oh, I didn't realize that was. I was looking up Russell Wilson's rushing stats for a second there, and I guess ESPN just said, "Hey, watch this video about God knows what."
What a professional situation we have here.
So
All right.
All right. Well,
professional.
to all of our podcast listeners, I hope you enjoyed that 5-second ad right there. So I'm
Thanks,
going to say,
ESPN.
what was the question? Okay, I see it. All right. No, because there's nothing that beating the Broncos does to put you back in the AFC playoff race. That doesn't mean anything to me. Even though this team did just beat the Chiefs last week, this should be a get right game, but it's hard to get right against a bad team. So I think that they should win this game. Winning this game doesn't mean anything to me. Losing this game means you have to fire Sean McDermott on live television after the game if he loses this game. The Bills are 500 if they lose tonight. They're 500.
Only one of us in our score predictions picked the Broncos to cover the 7-point spread. Jack, tell me why the Broncos are going to cover.
Well, it's sort of been the theme of the Bills all season. They play down to their competition or they play up to their competition. It's been a close game no matter what. And I don't know. I haven't felt good about the Bills lately. I think they win the game because they are a significantly better team. So
Agreed.
Great analysis.
Real professional.
Zach, over to you.
All
you
right.
picked the game to push, so you picked the Bills to win by 7.
Yes.
What's your thought on that? Why such a close game?
So my biggest thing is that not only did I pick a push, I picked a low scoring affair. I'm saying Bills will win 20-13 here. I just think the Broncos are a team that, while they've looked bad, they have not looked good. They're a team that could force the Bills to play ugly, and when the Bills get ugly, they get really ugly. They are really great at playing down to their competition, as we've mentioned already. So I expect this to be a low-scoring affair just because since the Broncos are so bad, the Bills will try to imitate them. So I'm predicting low scoring. It's going to be like a one-score game at the end of it. I do like Jack's prediction of it being only a 4-point game, but I went a little safer with a 7-point difference going with a push.
Well, all 4 of us picked the game not to hit the over. So it's 47.5, and I was the closest with a 30-17 Bills win. I just think the Bills have to use this game and get right away. I could see them taking like a 14-17 nothing lead and then just kind of like playing with their food the rest of the time. Jesse, you had a big score in the Bills' favor as well.
Yeah, I think the Bills take this game and get back to their weeks 2 to 4 scoring differentials where they're beating everybody by 20 to 30 points. I got 27-10 for the Bills, 17-point game, 3-possession win for the Buffalo Bills. I don't think it's going to even be close. You might even have a Bills defensive touchdown in this game. But it is interesting that the last 4 or 5 games that they've played have all been within 6 points or less. I think that they break that streak tonight and just break it open. I just don't think that they need to score that much, like 48 points. But I just don't think that the Broncos offense is going to be able to keep up at all. They haven't scored more than 20 points any of the last 3 weeks that they've played. So it's been rough for the Broncos offense. Bills by 1 million.
All right. I like it. That's what I'm thinking as well. All right. More questions. Jack, let's hope you can stay on the entire answer this time. There were 5 teams who won with a game-winning field goal yesterday. Who impressed you the most?
Oh, man. I think it's got to be the Texans, right? I
mean,
beating the Bengals?
Cleveland Browns beating the Ravens.
I don't think that's that impressive. The Browns are a scrappy team that they've shown all season they can play tough against good teams, even beat them sometimes. The Texans are outstanding. I mean, they played Cincinnati, a team that I was all over last week. I was hyping them up. I'm like, they're back. They're 100%. Like Joe Burrow's looking healthy. He's looking great. And then the Texans show up and beat him. C.J. Stroud is a legitimate MVP candidate right now. He is playing out of his mind. I don't know how you couldn't say the Texans. They're blowing me away right now.
Mm-hmm. Jesse, you'd like to rebut?
I think the Texans are impressive, but I think that the Texans beating the Bengals is just not on the same level as what we agreed last week. The Ravens were the consensus best team in the AFC and possibly the NFL. And they had a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter over the Browns, and they just completely rolled them the other way. It was funny that they missed the extra point and still had to go get another 3 points. But, I mean, I'm less impressed by what the defense did because they allowed 31 points to the Ravens. The offense put up 33. I mean, maybe a little less because there's a pick six, but they put up around 30 points on the Baltimore Ravens' #1 defense in the NFL. And this is Deshaun Watson looking, I hate to say it, this was like his first great game as a Brown, I think. And maybe not even that great, but his first good win as a Brown against a good team. And to me, it's just way more impressive that the Browns were able to get that win because honestly, the Texans, I mean, the Browns and the Texans are both above 500 right now, but the Texans have been on a roll, it seems, and the Bengals are still figuring things out. It just seemed like the Ravens were almost unstoppable, and for them to lose to the Browns of all people is just it's just the most impressive, I think, to me, no doubt.
Yeah, let me go ahead and tell you why Jesse's right. The Texans played the Bengals, but the Bengals had a lot of people hurt. Jamar Chase was playing, but I mean, he ended up with a great stat line like he always does. But that team was not together. Higgins was out, whatever. The game was 17-3 after the first. I looked up. I'm at a little neighborhood kind of outdoor street party or whatever because it's New Orleans and that's what we do. And I look up and it's like 17-3. I'm like, well, that game's over. And then I see later on the scorebug that they won 33-31. That is an unbelievable comeback against a Ravens team that generally when they're up like that, you don't ever see it again. You're not getting a chance to come back. Great running game, whatever. I don't know if Lamar didn't have it yesterday, but I agree that Deshaun Watson played his best game as a Brown. So
they started the game with a pick six. Oh, I just want to say they started the game with a pick six, and then Keaton Mitchell one touch to the end zone. I texted my friend saying, is this going to be one of those days where Lamar doesn't even touch the ball and they win by 30?
Yeah.
And it looked like it for the entire first half. They had nothing going at all offensively, but they found a way. They found a way to win.
Yep.
And the Browns are 6-3 now.
Yeah, which is crazy. But let me tell you guys why I believe that Jack is right after all of this. I agree. I think that the Texans did have the most impressive game of the game-winning field goals. The reason why I'm not going to pick the Browns is because I think that fourth quarter collapse by the Ravens says a lot more about the Ravens than it does the Browns. The Browns was able to take advantage. Their defense was absolutely lights out, but we know their defense can be lights out. Their defense played to what we expected them to play to. They were the ones who got their team back into that game. The offense just clicked at the right time. And yes, Deshaun Watson had a really good game, but their defense really made that comeback happen. And I think it says a lot more about the Ravens offense and how when there's a really good defensive matchup, it can be tough. Plus, on top of all of that, every division game, any performance should have an asterisk because division games are always just different for whatever reason. Like the Browns don't put up 30 plus. The Browns this year are not built to put up 30 plus points, but against a divisional opponent, of course it happens. The reason why I believe that is the Texans, however, the Bengals were another team that we were raving about. I know they were banged up, but for CJ Stroud to really prove to the world that he is a bona fide star already in the NFL, to really, get everyone being, hey, the Texans might actually be a good team right now. They might actually be a good team. I think the way the Texans are playing, any given Sunday, they can pretty much beat anyone in the AFC right now. So I think they have I think this game really shows you that when the Texans are clicking, they have the chance to beat anyone in the league.
Yeah, let's pump the brakes. They're not going on the road in the playoffs.
They also lost to the Panthers 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. All right, Zach, I'll start with you. Who's in more trouble after week 10, the Jaguars or the Bengals?
That's tough, but I think I'm going to lean the Jaguars here. Honestly, I was just pretty disappointed by how little they were able to compete with the Niners. I know it's the 49ers and they're just a wagon, but I expect more than 3 points from this Jaguars team. This is a team that we kind of just expect to win the division and make the playoffs and hopefully make some noise. But with how they looked, even their division could come into question at this point, especially with the Texans looking as good as they did this past Sunday. So I'd say overall, I'm a little more disappointed with the Jaguars getting blown out than the Bengals losing to a game-winning field goal.
All right, Jesse, I'm going to give you a different one since I know the other two love the Texans. Who's more of a threat in the AFC after last week, the Texans or the Browns?
we kind of just talked about those two teams a lot in detail,
I know.
but I'm going to say it's the Browns for sure. Yes, the Texans are a great team, and I actually think that at this point they might jump Jacksonville for the division. Jacksonville, by the way, their next 5-6 weeks, everybody they play has a winning record. So good luck for the Jaguars. It's except the Titans, but it's going to be they get Texans, Bengals, Browns, Ravens, Bucks, Panthers, Titans again to end the season. So going to be a ringer for the Jaguars. But back to the point here. I think the Browns are definitely a bigger threat because they have a championship level defense, and it's just does the offense come to play? And the Browns have beat very good teams. They beat the best team in the AFC and they beat the best team in the NFC up until this point. They beat the Niners and the Ravens. So just showing that their defense can put the clamps on any given week and win them games, they're going to show up. The Texans defense has been, I would say surprisingly better than expected. But with D'Amico Ryan at the helm, they've been playing well against wide receivers in some games, but they've also given up a fair share of points. So the Texans defense does not have anything on the Browns defense. And I'd say the Browns offense can certainly keep up in the games that they need to. So Browns are the bigger threat.
And how scary would the Browns be if they still had Nick Chubb?
How scary would if the Browns had CJ Stroud, they would win 5 Super Bowls in a row.
Exactly. Well, they made their bed. They got to sleep in it. All right, Jack, if you're the 2 seed in the AFC, which team is the one you don't want to see in the wild card round? You got Browns, you got Texans, you got Jaguars, you got Chargers, you got Bills. Let me read all the AFC teams to you.
You face the Bengals.
I hate to go back to the team that we keep talking about, but I think it's the Browns. I mean, the Bengals are a good option, but I think the Bengals. I just see that. I think I jumped a little bit on them last week. I was hyping them up way too much. I think we need to see them sort of get their stride a little bit more before I can ride them. The Browns, though, I mean, this defense is unbelievable. It is about as good as it gets in the NFL, and come playoff time, they always say defense wins championships, right? So I don't think that's a team that you want to face in the playoffs, especially since they just have the ability to completely shut down your offense. And then all it takes is a performance from Deshaun Watson for them to win that football game. So I do not want to see them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a little preview. Jesse and I are cooking up maybe a trip week 18 to Cincinnati to see the Browns-Bengals game and maybe do a little Lost Tribe content outside, just FYI. Clear out your calendar. All right. True or false? It's back. All right. You're in my class, Zach. And here you go. True or false? Dak is actually not good. He's just good against terrible teams.
True. Absolutely true. I mean, you're giving me a softball here. Come on. Absolutely true.
And like a true Eagles fan, you gave no reasons. So
I don't need to give a reason. You know
yes,
my
you
reason.
Do.
You know. Okay.
No,
okay.
It's not about me. It's about everybody else listening.
Okay. All right. True, because Dak Prescott has failed to win any big playoff games in his career yet. We already know that about him. He does phenomenally against his divisional opponents, and he does phenomenally against bad teams. When he's playing an out-of-division great opponent, he usually does not show up whatsoever.
Ooh, little comment from L. Rosenberg. TJ Yates is greater than Dak. And they said what they said. All right, Jesse, true or false? The Vikings are now better, or the Vikings are now better off for playoff success with Josh Dobbs at quarterback rather than Kirk Cousins.
False. As much as Josh Dobbs is the people's champion and he's been playing amazing and is 2-0 as a Viking, this is Kirk Cousins we're talking about, who was leading the league in passing and has more experience in the playoffs, even if it's not getting very far. Josh Dobbs has never had a single playoff start in his career. This is probably the most NFL action he's getting on a actual good team in his career as well. So I love Josh Dobbs, and I think that he's an amazing find for them. Like, good job for them trading for him at the deadline and honestly saving their season. Now we talked about them way back in week 3 when they were 0-3, and now they're above 500. So shout out to the Vikings, but I do not think that in any way they are better off because he is the backup and he is the fix up option for the QB room in Minnesota. So shout out to Kirk, and absolutely not are they better off.
All right, Jack, I'm going to give you the one you liked pregame here. Sam Howell, true or false? Sam Howell will lead the NFL in passing yards in 2024.
Oh, I mean, I have to say it could possibly be true considering that he's in first right now. But I find that really hard to believe, man. Yeah, decent quarterback, but saying that he's going to finish first in the league in passing yards is a bit of a stretch.
I totally disagree. I think he's going to have every opportunity to do it. I really do. I don't think anybody else is jumping up or whatever. So, okay, over to you, Zach. True or false? The Detroit defense is good enough for them to compete with the 49ers and Eagles in the playoffs.
So they have a very solid defensive unit, but I'm going to say false. We're talking about two powerhouse offenses against a defense that, while it's had its moments, when you look at the numbers, they're kind of middle of the pack average. In terms of yards, they've given up a little over 2,000 yards this season. That's around the halfway point in the league. Touchdowns, they've been giving up more than your average team, I believe. Yeah, they've given up 15 touchdowns. That's like top 6 worst in the league right now. That's like the 6th most touchdowns given up. And, just to add on one more, the one thing they're really good at is, their pass completion percentage. They've gotten opposing quarterbacks, they're like top 10 in that statistic, but they can just, teams can just run down their throat, including, Christian McCaffrey with the Niners, DeAndre Swift with the Eagles. With a good rushing offense, this team has not really shown a lot from that. I think just in general, the Detroit defense is not quite good enough to compete with the Eagles or 49ers.
Okay, well, interesting to see. Jesse, last one, true or false? The Seahawks are not good. They're just good at winning the games they should.
I think that we're going to find out very soon when they play the Niners. But I think that this is true. I don't have anything to suggest to me that the Seahawks are a great team yet, because they're also amongst the teams that just have not had a great win against a great team. Yes, they beat the Lions way back in week 2. That was a good win. It was a shootout. But outside of that, most of the teams that they've beaten they're nothing to write home about. They narrowly beat the Browns. So, I mean, the Browns are a solid team, but that was a very narrow victory that they almost lost. And then this past week, they're narrowly beating the Commanders. They lost to the Rams this year. They've lost to, they haven't impressed that much. So true. The Seahawks are not that good. They are just good at winning the games they should and playing in their division. Honestly, it actually might get tougher because the next time they face Arizona, it's going to be a different matchup.
Yeah, it's if you look at their schedule the next 4 weeks, it's at the Rams, home against the 49ers, at Dallas, at San Francisco, versus home against Philly. That is brutal. San Francisco, Dallas, San Francisco, Philly in 4 weeks.
That might be 0-5.
Yeah. And then they get Arizona late in the year, and they still have to play Pittsburgh, which, is going to play a game within 3 points no matter what.
They actually might lose out. Like, now that you're saying this, there's a chance that they lose every game for the rest of the season.
Yeah. I mean, they have the Titans. I think by then will be a scrap of a team. But, yeah, no, it's and if any team in the NFC South wants to jump up, now would be the time. Jeez. All right. Jesse, over to you for Better Than.
All right. So before we get into that, I have a fun little question. So I'm going to give you the statistics of 3 receivers, and I want you to tell me who the best is of the bunch. Receiver number 1 has 100. This is, for context, these receivers in their last 17 games played, the last 17 games that they have played in the regular season, 130 receptions for 1,530 yards and 11 touchdowns, 124 receptions for 1,830 yards and 9 touchdowns, or 122 receptions for 1,630 yards and 9 touchdowns. Any guesses?
How many touchdowns? How many touchdowns was the top one? 11?
11, 9, and 9.
Yeah.
1,500, 1,800, and 1,600 yards, and then 130, 125, and 122 receptions.
Okay. Are we guessing who these players are, or are we telling you?
You can guess who you think they are, or you can tell me who you think the best one is.
I feel like AJ Brown's got to be one of them.
That's what I'm thinking too. I think I'm based on just the numbers. I think I would take the second one. That was with the 1,800 yards and 9 touchdowns.
Yep.
Yep.
I think that's what I would take based on the numbers.
Exactly what I was thinking. I'm going with receiver number 2.
All right. So the first receiver I said is Jamar Chase with 130 catches, 1,530 yards, and 11 touchdowns. The second receiver is Justin Jefferson with 124 catches for 1,800 yards and 9 touchdowns. The third receiver with 122 receptions, 1,600 yards, and 9 touchdowns is CeeDee Lamb. None other than Cedarian, whatever the rest of his name is, Lamb. So
D. Lamb.
Cedarian D. Lamb. So for today's topic, CeeDee Lamb, first player, I don't know if it's in NFL history or in whatever decade, to have 10 plus catches for 150 plus yards in 3 straight games, coming off yet another huge outing yesterday. I think he had around 170, 180 total yards. Cowboys offense has been popping. CeeDee Lamb, come on down for this week's episode of Is CeeDee Lamb Better Than? So we're going to go through some wide receiver ones. We skipped a lot of people because they don't even deserve to be there. And we're going to see, is CeeDee Lamb top 5, top 10? Where does he stand? So let's start this off. Ooh, I actually need, you know what? First name. Is CeeDee Lamb better than Terry McLaurin? Madden would say it's Terry McLaurin, by the way.
Madden is stupid. It's CeeDee Lamb.
Giving us softball to start. Absolutely CeeDee Lamb.
I have no love for Terry McLaurin. It's CeeDee Lamb.
Brandon Ayuk.
Definitely CeeDee Lamb.
100% CeeDee Lamb.
Brandon Ayuk's not even the best wide receiver on his team yet, so because it's McCaffrey. So give me CeeDee Lamb.
Deebo Samuel.
I love Deebo, but it's CeeDee.
It's CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee's never hurt. I mean, ever. Does he miss games at all? Go ahead and give me CeeDee.
DJ Moore.
Yeah, it's still easily CeeDee for me.
Let's get to the real players on this list. It's CeeDee
We'll
Lamb.
get there.
DJ Moore is too busy in his entire career dragging a terrible quarterback with him, so it's got to be CeeDee Lamb. No offense. I know some people don't like Dak Prescott. He's better than anything DJ Moore's ever played with.
Put CD on the Panthers and Bears and put DJ Moore on the Cowboys, and we might have a different discussion today. All right. Mike Evans, Mr. 1,000.
Oh, yeah, I was about to say, it's hard to pick against that kind of consistency, but I'm going to. It's CeeDee.
Mike Evans a few years ago, I probably take him. Right now, I'm going CeeDee Lamb.
This one's tough because Mike Evans is so consistent, even playing with the Baker Mayfields of the world. He doesn't have to have Tom Brady to have success, and CeeDee Lamb can go away. Obviously, the last 3 weeks he's been historic, but I think I'm going to say Mike Evans for now.
Yeah, Mike Evans is great. 1,000 yards in every year he's been in the league. CeeDee Lamb, by the way, I was just checking it. In his first year, he had 935 yards, and then every year since then, he's also been over 1,000. So he's just missing out on that same record as Mike Evans. But Mike Evans also has just been around for so long. I would take CeeDee now. Calvin Ridley.
If you wanted to include a Jaguar, maybe you should have put Christian Kirk. This is CeeDee Lamb by the biggest margin out of anyone on the list so far.
But preseason training camp footage.
But no,
my God, what?
He was dusting those undrafted guys. I mean, like nobody's business.
Yeah, he was really shaking up the practice squad that week.
Yeah, unfortunately, he can't play across from practice squad players every week. This is easily CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, it's CeeDee Lamb.
Amari Cooper, former teammate.
Yeah, that's actually difficult. I'm a big Amari guy. I think he's pretty underrated, but I just think CeeDee has more physical talent, and the numbers are somewhat comparable. So I would take CeeDee.
Yeah, Amari's having a really solid season, but I'm going to go with CeeDee Lamb here.
Yeah, I don't think Amari Cooper's a guy that scares you. He has decent stats. He's had really good years, but he's not a guy anymore that can blow the top off and make the tough catch over the middle.
He still makes some great plays. He's made a few great plays over the past couple of weeks. I've been impressed
Absolutely. Absolutely, he does, but not at the CeeDee Lamb rate. So give me CD.
Yep.
Yeah, Amari Cooper, also a guy who's pretty much good for 1,100 yards every year, but he's never. CeeDee Lamb has more yards last year than Amari Cooper ever has in his career. He's never gone over 1,200, and CD had
Yeah.
almost 1,400 in his third year in the league. So CD is the Amari Cooper replacement, and honestly, I still can't to this day remember why the Cowboys traded him for a 5th-round pick or a 6th-round pick,
Yeah.
whatever it was. Absolutely awful, Jerry. All right, next on the list, DK Metcalf.
Honestly, I'm cooling off on DK a little bit lately. Obviously, he's a physical specimen and he has the ability to be amazing, but I feel like his numbers just haven't quite lived up to it in recent years. So, got to be CD for me.
Yeah, DK Metcalf has not really been that impressive this year. This is pretty easily CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah. So DK, I think, had the looks that second year in the league of really taking a step. It was probably better than CD at that moment, but he has not shown anything since. Again, his quarterback last year was good, but this year doesn't seem to have it together. But I got to go CD.
All right, here's where the fun starts. Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah, this gets interesting here for sure. I think I'm gonna go with CD because while Amon-Ra is incredible, I think CD is a more versatile skill set. Amon-Ra, say what you want about him, he's a slot receiver. He's a great slot receiver. He's probably the best slot receiver in the NFL, but he's a slot receiver, and CD's versatility is just more valuable.
Yeah, this one feels closer than the rest of them, but it's still not close enough for me to consider Amon-Ra St. Brown better than CeeDee Lamb. This is still CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, Amon-Ra obviously having a great year, had a good end of the year last year. But I'm scared more if I'm worried about my defense if it's CD than if it's Amon-Ra.
Everyone called us crazy, I think, at the start of the season when we said CD was better than Amon-Ra in that video, and everyone lost their mind. Crazy also is that we still have more than 10 names left, and it's starting to get close here. Garrett Wilson.
I firmly believe that if you traded CeeDee Lamb for Garrett Wilson straight up, we would unequivocally say that Garrett Wilson was better. But you have to take into account what has actually happened on the field, and I would be nuts to not say CD.
Yeah, this is definitely CeeDee Lamb. I think we might be saying something different if Aaron Rodgers does play the full season. If he even is coming back, I don't even know what's going on with his Achilles at this point. This is definitely CeeDee Lamb, though.
The only way he's coming back is if he lied about his injury, okay? A 40-year-old person can't come back from an Achilles tear in less than a year. Anyway, I'm going to take Garrett Wilson here. I hear what you're saying, Jack, and I agree. But I'm taking these two players and saying, okay, if they both had similar situations, what would happen? And I just think I think Garrett Wilson would outperform CD. Not by much, but I do like him a little better.
Yeah, put CD on the Jets, and I think he's requesting a trade immediately, and just it's not looking good there. I think the fact that Garrett Wilson has still been somewhat serviceable as a receiver this year, with Zach Wilson being the one throwing to him, speaks a lot of volumes. I think I would narrowly currently take CD for, again, the reason Jack said of what actually has happened in real life is CD is having a career year, and unfortunately for Garrett Wilson, he'll have to wait till at least mid-December to have a rebuttal. Mid-December. All right, next up, Cooper Kupp.
Oh, this season CD's been better, and it's hard to not take into account everything that Cooper Kupp has done for the past 2-3 years before this, where he was arguably the best in the NFL. But this season in particular, CD has been better. So I think I have to say CD.
Man, I don't like saying this, but I'm with Jack on this one. You take into account what Cooper Kupp has done, I think, especially in 2021. I know now that's 2 years ago that we're reminiscing on his 1,900-yard season, but he just has not been the same guy since, and injuries just aren't helping. Right now, I'm taking CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, it's CeeDee Lamb. I mean, look, let's just look at the eye test this year. Cooper Cup has had limited success. Obviously, he had a big injury because Jack kicked him at training camp. But I'm definitely going CD.
What's crazy is CD has almost 3 times as many yards as Cooper Cup does this season so far. But what's also wild, Zach, when you said we always hold Cooper Cup to that 1,900-yard season, could you guess how many 1,000-yard seasons Cooper Cup has had in his career? In 7 years.
Feels like
3.
I want to say 3 or 4.
I was gonna say 5.
2.
Wow.
2, and CeeDee Lamb already has 2, by the way.
Wow.
Okay. And it was 11. It was 1,900 and 1,100 for Cup.
The only reason I feel like it's close is that we know what he can be, and we've seen some really good seasons from him. I pulled up his stats. So those 1,000-yard seasons, there's a 974-yard in the middle of them, sandwiched between them. That 3-year stretch of Cooper Cup is what we would love to keep seeing, but we just haven't seen it since.
And I mean, that 1,900-yard season, he had 190 targets, which is just absolutely insane.
That's ridiculous.
150 of them he caught. Anyway, we'll keep moving on. I think Cooper Cup at his highest is better, but we can't hold Cooper Cup to the standard he was 2 years ago. We have to live in the now, and CeeDee Lamb has more yards in the last 2 years, more touchdowns in the last 2 years, more everything. So it's CeeDee Lamb. The time is now. All right, Chris Olave. I don't think this one's that hard.
Yeah, I think you could potentially say something similar to what we said about Garrett Wilson here. But at the same time, I also just like Garrett Wilson more than I like Chris Olave. So if I took CD there, I'm certainly taking CD here.
I'm shocked that Chris Olave is this late on the list. Give me CD Lamb.
The answer is CD, but let me just say, if Jameis Winston was the Saints quarterback every week this year, Chris Olave would already have 1,400 yards. All he did yesterday when he came in was throw to Olave for an entire half. It was awesome.
Yeah, double teamed or not, all he did was throw to Olave.
No, but either way, Derek Carr does not throw to Olave. That's just how that happened. So, CD Lamb.
All right, Keenan Allen.
I think this one's Keenan for me. Keenan has been so outstanding this year, and he's been so consistent for his entire career. I mean, this is, 7 years, 8 years of Keenan Allen just being a consistent top 10 receiver in the NFL. And somehow this season, I think he's like 31 years old, and he might be having his best season of his career. So it's got to be Keenan.
Yeah, I think Keenan Allen is well on pace for another 1,000+ yard season. He's looked phenomenal. I think this is easily Keenan Allen. That the fact that he's still performing this well this late in his career is extremely impressive. And he also recently crossed 10,000 yards, which is also just very impressive. And he still looks fantastic. So I'm going Keenan Allen here.
Brian, any different?
Oh, sorry. I forgot that I was after him. Keenan Allen all the way. I think if CeeDee Lamb had a quarterback that loved him half as much as Justin Herbert loves Keenan Allen, it would help. But I think Keenan Allen is there. It's not going to be for long, though. I think this is probably his last superstar season, and then we'll see a little decline.
Yeah, Keenan Allen already almost at 900 yards, just over halfway through the season. So definitely on pace for a career year for him, and gotta love Keenan Allen. Last year, this would unanimously be CeeDee Lamb because Keenan Allen got hurt last year and screwed over every single person who drafted him in fantasy. And then all of those people stayed away from him this year and are regretting it ever since. So shout out Keenan Allen. He's having a great year. I would right now take CD on pretty much every scenario except for I don't know. It's fourth down and you need a guy to run a slant and make a catch. I would take Keenan Allen, but starting a franchise, competing right now, whatever it is, I would take CeeDee Lamb. All right, we got the last 6 names on this list. Crazy how deep the wide receiver position is. Devontae Adams right now.
Oh boy, here goes the one I'm going to get a bunch of hate for. I'm going to take CD. Devontae Adams, I still think is an incredible player. But this has objectively been a down season for him. It's been the worst season of his career statistically since probably 2017. Like he's obviously he had a ridiculous stretch with Aaron Rodgers. He was still awesome last year in his first year with the Raiders, but this season, obviously, the quarterback situation has been a mess, which plays into how much he struggled. But nonetheless, he has struggled, and CD has been fantastic. So I think at this moment in time, I have to pick CD.
Well, I can tell you for a fact that despite the quarterback situation, he's still on pace to have better stats than his 2017 season. No doubt in my mind about that. I think if Devontae Adams had an actual NFL quarterback throwing to him, this wouldn't be a debate. This would be Devontae Adams all the way. And that's why I'm still going to lean Devontae Adams in this discussion. I mean, yes, right now he's not getting the targets he deserves. He's not putting up the numbers that you want to see from him. But we know that Devontae Adams still, when he's with an actual NFL quarterback, is one of the best receivers in the game right now. So I'm going to take Devontae Adams.
This one's not close. I think this is where the whole list goes off the cliff, and we say some other names. Devontae Adams is better. Give me Devontae.
This one is also not even close for me. It's Devontae Adams because Devontae Adams, to me, still has a case to be the best receiver in the NFL, like number one, not top five, number one, just strictly talent based. I mean, the man had 1,500 yards and 14 touchdowns with Derek Carr last year. So that alone speaks for itself. But Devontae Adams in the past has been considered the number one guy in the NFL. I don't think he's fallen that far from grace skill wise. CeeDee Lamb is great. He's never had a claim to the number one spot in the NFL. And as long as Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase are around, it might be hard for him to get a claim to that spot. But Devontae Adams, number one last year, the year before, got to be Adams. All right, Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, this one's Stephon Diggs. He's been too consistently good for too long to say CD's better.
And the list comes to a close of actual people that we can say are better. People that CeeDee Lamb is better than. The list is over. This is Stephon Diggs.
It's Diggs, and I think the biggest difference is Diggs very, very rarely has a dud game. And while, like I said, CD's on a roll now, he will have a dud game every once in a while. So give me Diggs.
All right, one for the road. I'm going to give you the last four guys as a package deal. Would you take CeeDee Lamb over any of these guys? A.J. Brown, Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson.
No, A.J. Brown's been ridiculous this season. If there's anyone that's been more impressive in this season alone, it's A.J. Brown. Jamar Chase, obviously, beast. Tyreek Hill, the speed unmatched. And Justin Jefferson's the best receiver on the planet. So, no.
A.J. Brown having a career year after just having a career year. Jamar Chase being Jamar Chase. As Jack mentioned, Tyreek Hill, that insane speed, just will always find a way to see the end zone. And then Justin Jefferson, when healthy, is the best wide receiver in the game. So absolutely not.
No, I'm taking all four of these guys. Although A.J. Brown, every once in a while he needs to blow up at his quarterback just to push those stats from 101 receiving yards a week to 140. But CD doesn't need to do that. But yeah, I'm not taking him over these four.
All right, great stuff, lads. CeeDee Lamb, you are officially 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's arguably 10. The seventh or eighth best receiver in the NFL, which it's almost impossible to crack the top 6, I would say, unless you are actually having a 2,000-yard season.
Top 10 feels very fair. It feels very fair for CeeDee Lamb.
Top 10, but I think he's not 10. I think he's in the 7 or 8 range.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's 7. Yeah.
Well done there. I got one more question for us, and then we can wrap up early. So, fun little brotherly love here. So, there are 5 sets of twins in the NBA. Can you name all 5 and all 10 brothers? So, I'll let y'all guess away. There are 5 sets of twins in the NBA. Name all of them.
I know one off the bat. I'm going to go with Brooke and Robin Lopez.
And can you tell me what teams each of them are on?
See, Brooke, I know he's on the Bucks. Robin could be God knows anywhere in the league. So
who he play for?
Does anyone know where Robin Lopez plays? Because I honestly don't.
I
He's-
do. He's on the Bucks.
He's also on the Bucks.
Yeah, he's also on the Bucks.
See,
I do have to say,
oh,
Robin Lopez does get a little Ish Smith with his moving around, and he was in New Orleans a couple of years with awesome hair.
I'm just saying the last time I remember like watching Robin Lopez, he was a bull. So
That's a long time ago.
These are the only two twins that are on the same team in the league. So yeah, Lopez brothers on the Bucks are one of the twins. Brian,
They also played together at Stanford as well.
Yep.
I'm gonna go with the rookies, Asuar and whatever his name is.
What are their
Amen.
names?
Amen. Amen.
Amen. And can you tell me what teams they're on?
Houston and Detroit? No.
Yep, Houston and
Yeah.
Detroit. Yeah.
I saw them both play at the summer league, and just trying to play that back.
Yeah, Amen Thompson on the Rockets. He's been out, I think, to start the season, and Asar Thompson has been absolutely phenomenal. He's leading rookies in all 5 major statistical categories. He's in the top 3 of every single one, so he's been a beast. Thompson twins, Rockets and Pistons. That is number 2. Jack, what you got for me?
I've got the ones that have been in the news a lot lately, the Murray brothers, Keegan and Chris Murray.
Keegan and Chris.
Teammates at Iowa. They killed my Badgers. When I saw them play here at the Kohl Center together, they were amazing. And then, so Keegan's in Sacramento and Chris is in Portland, and they just played against each other the other day.
They did. Honestly, I think that was one of the harder ones to remember, not to remember that they're twins, but to remember Chris's name and that he plays on the Blazers. All right, that is number 3.
Play in Wisconsin when they were at Iowa. That's the only reason I remember it.
And we saw him at the summer league, and we were like, "Is that Keegan Murray?" And then it was no, that's Chris Murray. All right, that's number 3. Back to you, Zach.
Yep, and I know number 4. I'm going with the Morris twins, Marcus Morris Sr. and Markieff Morris. And I know that Marcus Morris Sr. is on the Sixers because we just traded for him. And then Markieff Morris, I believe, is on the Mavericks.
So you are correct. It is Marcus and Markieff Morris. And you are correct in that Markieff Morris does play for the Dallas Mavericks. He was a free agent to start the season, and Marcus Morris got traded last week. So good on you for staying up to date in your NBA. Brian, can you take us home with the last set of twins?
I can. I'm going to defer to Jack because I was going to go with the Morris brothers, and that was my guess.
Oh, okay. I don't know for certain. Well, there's one of the Plumlees might. I feel like I don't know. That doesn't feel right though.
Is that your
no! I got it. I remember this. This is a March Madness one that's the reason I remember this. They were at Nevada together and they were outstanding the tournament. It's Caleb and Cody Martin. And Caleb's in Miami and Cody, oh Lord. Charlotte
Hornets, Cody Martin. Well
Very
done.
nice.
Yeah, the Martin twins are the last 2. Caleb Martin should have been Eastern Conference Finals MVP, and Cody Martin rotting away on the Hornets. Well done. Those are the 5 twins in the NBA. 10 brothers, 5 twins, maybe 1 good player. No, there's maybe 2, 3. So, yeah, those are the twins. That's all I got. And
1 good player.
Well, I was looking and I thought Keegan Murray, and then I was like, Brooke Lopez is pretty good, and then I was like, Asar Thompson's pretty good, and
a man could be pretty good.
A man could be good.
Yeah.
We don't know yet. And Caleb Martin's all right, but it's not May yet, so we'll see.
Yeah, awesome. All right, let's wrap this up so we can transport ourselves to Orchard Park, New York, and watch the Bills blow the doors off the Broncos with Sean Payton. So thanks a lot, fellas, and we'll see you guys on Wednesday for the Wednesday show.
And we'll see everybody here on